welcome to the first season of the Is the Planet Doomed podcast. This is a project produced by the students of a course with the same name in the Department of Geography at Colgate University. By unpacking some of the world's most pressing and complex problems, the episodes in this podcast help answer the question, well, are we doomed? In this episode, Edenenberg looks at the intersection between armed conflict and blood diamonds in West Africa.
Linda DeRosa says her two sons were killed over diamonds. In September, soldiers tried to kick a group of garimperos out of an illegal mine. When they refused to leave, she says, the soldiers caved in part of the mine and 45 men were buried alive, including her 21-year-old son.
That was Wall Street Journal reporter Michael Allen telling the heartbreaking story of Angolan native Linda DeRosa.
In Angola, this sad story of blood diamonds is far too common. In the sub-Saharan African country, workers slave away in mines, often against their will. From sunup to sundown each day, the workers lead lives characterized by hunger, exhaustion, and violence. Their home? The northeastern Lunda province. Their pursuit? Diamonds. But these are not just any diamonds. They're blood diamonds.
But what even are blood diamonds?
It seems like the term triggers more thoughts of a Leonardo DiCaprio movie than it actually reminds us of the global issue. Even more unfortunate is the little attention people give to the blood diamond issue. This issue, if not resolved, could have catastrophic effects on both regional and global scales.
So, to understand Angola's blood diamond problem, let's take a closer look at the situation.
Blood diamonds are classified as diamonds that are sold to fund war and insurrection. Typically, blood diamonds are mined through the use of illegal working practices.
Armed political groups that control lucrative diamond mining regions force the native population to mine diamonds.
Conflict minerals are then smuggled to processing plants before they eventually find their way into the global diamond market, where they are sold for large profits. The money, often collected by corrupt generals and warlords, is funneled back into their militant groups. They are used to purchase weapons, hire soldiers, and wage war. This vicious cycle continues as war only brings more suffering to the undeveloped and unstable country where blood diamonds are mined. Angola, in particular, has a long history of violence and government instability dating back to its inception, which fueled the rise of the blood diamond industry. From the 1950s to the early 2000s, Angola was locked in a state of constant warfare between factions backed by different foreign powers.
After Angola gained independence from Portugal in 1975 due to a coup in Lisbon, a power vacuum emerged and the fighting intensified. The perpetrators were UNITA, led by warlord Jonas Savimbi, and backed by the United States, China, and South Africa. Their more Marxist enemy, the MPLA, was backed by communist nations like the Soviet Union and Cuba.
Even after Cold War rivalries faded in the 90s, fighting over diamond mines continued, ceasefires and peacekeeping missions failed, and Angola was left in ruins.
It wasn't until recently that Angola developed any real government, and the existing infrastructure is still very poor.
Here, Africa analyst Mark Schroeder discusses Angola's lack of infrastructure.
The northeast region of Angola finds itself with the highest concentration of diamonds in the country. But actually getting to this region is easier said than done. The road network to there is in poor shape.
Amid the chaos and war, large diamond companies like De Beers continued purchasing Angolan diamonds. This indirectly funded groups like UNITA and prevented the already ineffective and corrupt Angolan government from establishing a grip on the country.
While all of this occurred decades ago and the situation is rumored to have improved, it is still a similar scene today.
One cause for the rumors of improvement comes through the creation of the Kimberley process. The Kimberley process is a set of standards and regulations that diamond producers must meet in order to sell their minerals in the global marketplace. These measures aim to end the cycle of consumer-funded warfare and eliminate human rights abuses in the mines. However, very little has been done to reform the system in Angola. In fact, the Kimberley process's very definition of a conflict diamond does not account for the human rights abuses that take place in government-controlled mines, and there are loopholes in regulations. These have allowed for the blood diamond exports to continue over the years. Clearly, the Angolan blood diamond industry continues to thrive, and the Kimberley process is not the way forward.
While it may appear the blood diamond tragedy is self-inflicted by Angolans, this is not the case. In reality, their situation is a textbook example of a resource curse.
A resource curse occurs when a natural resource, for instance diamonds, leads to more problems than it solves.
Resource curses typically lead to poor economic growth, corrupt and authoritarian regimes, and widespread conflict.
Remarking on the corruption and wealth disparity in Angola is New York Times op-ed columnist Nicholas Kristof.
Officials here spend $50 million a year on luxury cars alone. Judges here get Jaguars to drive, as kids perish at the highest rate in the world.
In Angola's case, the societal structure has not allowed the people to benefit from the sale of diamonds. The diamond industry also worsened inequality between Angolan peasants and the corrupt political elite. Some government leaders make millions a year, while peasants survive on less than $2 a day. Analyzing the larger African diamond market confirms the severity of Angola's resource curse. In more stable African countries where the diamond industry is either officially nationalized or privately regulated, the diamonds are typically non-lootable. Non-lootable diamonds are immobile and require deep shafts and high levels of capital to extract them. In countries like Angola, where the majority of diamond production is informal or artisanal, diamonds are lootable or easily extracted from the soil.
Because Angola's diamonds are lootable, the state cannot monopolize their extraction, so they often facilitate the illegal trading instead.
As a result, there is poor economic growth, violence, and political instability. Since Angola's diamonds can be easily mined by anyone, the government enacted restrictive mining laws against the Angolan peasants. However, these laws go far beyond their intended purpose and violate basic human rights. These oppressive laws restrict people's movements in the diamond mining region of Lunda and prevent them from taking part in any economic activity other than mining.
Since thousands are trapped and forced into the diamond mining industry, there's a lack of human capital development, the agricultural industry has stalled, and people struggle finding adequate food to survive.
Many of the Angolans forced into mines also face torture and abuse by corrupt guards and officials. Here is Ernesto Vallente, a miner personally affected by the government's oppressive regulations.
If they find anyone, they kill them. If they find anyone out there who's still working on their land or on their small farm away from this place here that's run by the government, then they kill them. If anyone leaves here and tries to go back, they hold them and then they kill them.
Even when these occurrences escalate to murder, the faulty justice system still fails to hold anyone accountable. Another area the Angolan government has failed in is securing their borders. Due to the country's immense national debt, Angola cannot afford to arm and pay soldiers to defend their borders.
Since the diamond-rich Lunda region borders the Democratic Republic of the Congo, poor Congolese nationals cross the loosely defended border in hopes of making money.
The Angolan government views these small-time mining operations, or garimpos, as threatening to their hopes of an entirely company-controlled mining system. First occurring in 2003 under the name Operation Brilhante, the Angolan army marched to Lunda and forcefully expelled the foreign small-time miners, or garimpeiros. The march is synonymous with rape and murder by Angolan soldiers, yet many foreigners later re-enter the country to continue mining, and the cycle continues. In addition to the cross-border activity of garimpeiros, many violent border raids occur into both Angola and the Democratic Republic of the Congo. These cross-border incursions, led by small rebel groups, bring more terror and instability to the already volatile region. If the blood diamond industry is not curbed, its wide range of effects could turn potential catastrophic scenarios into reality. The money made in the industry goes towards funding militant operations that have the potential of toppling national governments. Government coups are not uncommon in Africa, and millions made from blood diamonds could translate to such an event. A state failure in Angola would worsen already high levels of poverty, destroy any infrastructure, and allow for the rise of warring factions like UNITA and MPLA. Essentially, Angola's bloody history could very likely repeat itself. Another possibility is that the dominant faction could perpetrate ethnic cleansing onto subjugated minority groups. Ethnic tensions in Africa are sharp, and many genocides have occurred like those in Rwanda and Sudan. Like these countries, Angola has many sizable rival ethnic groups, making a genocide a possibility in the wake of state failure. Strat 4 explains the tensions between Angola's largest ethnic groups, the Kimbundu and the Ovimbundu.
The Mbundu's absorption of the colonial infrastructure in Luanda and the country's illicit crude oil-based economic relationships led to the group's control of the country, dominating the agrarian Ovimbundu.
These complexities are reflected in the economy, so any financial instability or industry failures could cause ethnic conflict. A government collapse in Angola could very likely have a domino effect on neighboring African countries. Although some of Angola's neighbors like Botswana are well run, many governments of surrounding African countries are extremely corrupt and ineffective. Since these countries' borders exist more on maps than they do in reality, conflict can easily spread across the entire continent. Collapse in Angola could trigger similar events in nearby countries like Zambia and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, setting off a revolutionary shockwave all over Africa. At its highest level, the effects of Angola's blood diamond industry could plunge the continent into anarchy and have negative ripple effects on global consumer and financial markets. At this point, it is clear that the damage caused by blood diamonds hurts Angolan peasants and could potentially affect people across the globe. While threats to humanity such as AI and nuclear warfare soak up news headlines, could the blood diamond industry cause the catastrophe that takes us down? For Colgate University, I'm Edenenberg.